So today we are going to be looking at composition techniques, and under this we have, your framing, how you frame your pictures. We have the rule of third, we have symmetry, and some others which are under what, your composition. So we're going to be looking at some practical examples of how this works. Let's get started. So now we're going to be looking at framing and the rule of thirds. As you can see on the screen, this grid that I are seeing on the screen is divided into 3 segments. That's why it's called the rule of third. The uppermost layer, this upside, then the middle and the downside. Now, when you are shooting a particular picture, you need your rule of third and you need your framing. Let's take for example now, when you are shooting anyone, always make sure that the line, you can see this particular line, the one at the middle, this one is cutting across her eye like this, and she's in the middle. You can either frame her at the middle, make sure that her eyes is cutting across at it like this, just like this. This is it, she's framed at the middle like this. If you want to frame her at the middle, you can frame her at the middle and take your pictures. This is at the middle. If I want to also frame her again and maybe to the side, I can bring to the side here. Now, cutting across to this side, you can see how this is cutting across like this, exactly. And you take the picture. This is well framed and the rule of third is guiding you. If I want to also take to this other side again, also like this, I can frame it up like this and see also taking, you can see. So always make sure the eyes is at the center. It's always this line is cutting across the eye and the other line is cutting across like the middle of her face. So that shows that she's well framed and she's, you are using the rule of third very, very well. So this, now, let's take a look at, even if you're looking at different perspective, let's say, for example, you want to take her from an uppermost, this thing. Same thing. This is a higher angle. Let's say, for example, I'm taking her from this higher angle and I still want to frame her. I'll make sure that her eyes, you can see, yes, like this, is cutting across at the middle. This is for the middle. If you want to frame her at the middle, it's cutting across like this. This is good framing. If I want to frame her to the other side, I make sure that uppermost and this comes down to this side like this. This is good framing also, because it's cutting across. You can see cutting across the eyes and the line is dividing her face into 2. If I'm framing on this other side also like this, bring it down, cut across like this, and let it exactly, and you take your picture. This is good framing. If I want to take it from even a lower angle, same thing. If you want to take her from a lower angle, same thing. Let it cut across her eyes at the middle. You're taking her at the middle. I take a picture. Even if they're at the side, let it center like this, in this side here like this. And you take a picture. This is good framing. When it comes like this, you can also center it like this. Up like, let it be like this. And take the picture. Now this is good framing. So this, your rule of third and your framing works hand in hand. The rule of third helps you to frame better, because your rule of third, it gives you a better way of framing your pictures rather than just picking your camera up and just taking pictures just how you see it. So with your rule of third on, you can frame your pictures better. You see, sometimes in case if the grids are not on your camera, you can put them on so that you can frame better. If you want to frame at the middle, let them be at the middle. This is bad framing. Just imagine taking a picture like this. Now you can see putting her in the third frame it doesn't make any sense. It's not looking nice. Or imagine putting her in this side like this. This is bad framing. So make sure she's at the third. Let her eyes be between the third and the second, and let her head be in the first one up, and let her nose and her jaw, her other body be downwards, not like this. This is bad framing. This is bad framing. This is bad framing. You can see where she's staying. But immediately you bring it down, you align it. You can see this is good framing. Even if I move to this side like this, you don't want to bring her to this third. This is very bad framing. Now bringing her to this side, completely inside this box here like this. This is bad framing. She needs to be in between, like you see here like this. This is good framing. It's cutting across. She's cutting across in between, and the symmetry line is also passing through her eyes. This is good framing. If I also want to bring her to this side also, this side like this, this is good framing, like this. Yes. So if I change my password, let's say for example I want to take her from the side. Let's say from the side like this. This will be the middle. This is the middle. cutting across like this. Take your pictures. And also, if I want to frame out maybe to the other side like this, from this perspective, let it come down, cut across. Yes, and you start talking. This is this. Let it always cut through. Let that line divide the face. So you divide the face like this. Then if I want to use this angle here, it cuts through also in this side like this. It cuts through also in this side. And this is how you get good framing. And you get good framing by using the rule of thirds. So with this, you always get nice pictures. Your pictures will always be framed better. They come out better and they come out nice. So if you are shooting in portrait format, you're shooting in a portrait format, always make sure you keep most of the time keep your subject at the middle. Let's say if I move closer to her, keep her at the middle. The same thing applies for portrait also. Make sure her eyes are well aligned at the middle, and she's aligning at the middle of everything, not like this. You don't want to shoot her like this. You understand? You don't want to shoot too low like this and not coming outside. You don't want to shoot to the side. You can't even, when you're shooting in portrait, you can't really shoot to the side like this most of the time. Always make sure there are excess for some, depending on what you're shooting though. Sometimes you can shoot maybe something like this, but most of the time when you're shooting a very close-up portrait, make sure she's aligned, or the subject is aligned at the middle. It gives a better view. It gives a better perspective. If I want to shoot from the side, make sure she's aligned at the middle. You can see she's staying at the middle. So the rule of third, this grid is what guides you, is guiding you on everything you are doing. You can see how framed and how nice it looks. Rather than imagine shooting like this. Imagine this. Some people will see it and say, oh, I like this picture, it looks nice, but that's bad framing actually. This is a very, very good framing. You frame it very, very well. If I shoot from another perspective, for example, I'm shooting from this perspective, this is good framing, well framed. You don't want her out of the frame like this. This is bad framing. You don't want her like this. No, you don't want it to be up like this. You don't want it to be too down like this. Always make sure you keep it at the center. Keep everything at the center, and that is how the rule of third and framing really works. Understanding different focal length is very, very important while taking your pictures, because different lenses have different focal lengths. Starting from we have 10 millimeters, we have 12 millimeters, we have 24, we have 35 millimeter, we have 50 millimeter, we have 70, up to 200, and so on. Different focal lengths. Now, the focal length you are going to be using is dependent on what you are shooting. For example, if you are shooting a landscape, you are going to be using a more wider angles, that is between something around 24 millimeters, 35 millimeters. Those are the kind of focal length you need. Now, when you go into something like portraits, you want a close-up shot, you want something bold, you want something more compressed, something that will stand out. You want to go for a focal length of from 50 millimeters upward, 50 millimeters, 70 millimeters, 200. Those are what closer shots. Portrait, they are very, very good for portrait. Now, when you go to things like wildlife photography, you want something like starting from around 200 millimeters, because for example, for nature, you can't get really close to those animals, especially if it's wildlife. You can't get close to those animals, so you need a lens that can capture a long range. Even if you are far away, you need a lens that can make you look very, very close to those animals and take very clear pictures. And that's why you see wildlife photographers, the kind of lens they use is different from the kind of lens a normal landscape photographer will use, or a normal portrait photographer will use. You see those long lens. You see, different focal length is dependent on whatever you are shooting. So what you are shooting will determine the kind of focal length of lens you'll be using. Probably you're going to be using either your 24 mm, you're going to be using your 35 mm, you want to use your 50 mm, you want to use 200, 70. Different focal lengths is dependent on whatever you want to shoot. So that is that about focal lengths. In photography, an ordinary scene can make your picture look boring, dull, and not interesting. And how do you turn an ordinary scene
to something extraordinary. Number one thing, depending on the kind of shoot you are going for, probably maybe you want to do a birthday shoot, a corporate headshot, whatever you are doing, if your background is just plain, if the background is too plain and maybe you're not feeling it, it's not giving this vibe and you're not liking it, number one thing you can do is, number one, is that you change the background, to something that is more, fun, something that is giving this good vibe. Or if you want to still stick with that background, you can add props, at the background. You can add maybe lamps, you can add something on the wall, you can add some other things at the background, to give you this depth, to give you this, this vibe, more fun and more eye-catching look. So that's number one way of what? Turning an ordinary scene to an extraordinary scene. Add props to the background and to make it come out better. Number two is maybe add lightning to the background. If your background is just white, just pure white, or just a particular color, you can add light to the background. You can maybe add a blue light, add just add light to the background to bring life into that picture. So in our next class, we're going to be looking at mastering lighting techniques. How you use different lighting techniques to enhance your pictures, to make them come out better. So if you enjoyed this class, like, subscribe, share, and turn on the notification button. See you in the next class.